Today we're going to be talking about 5 signs you're about to have a major glow up slash level up as a neurodivergent. If you already know some of my content on Instagram or TikTok, you will know that I talk about how to level up as a neurodivergent. And to me, I focus heavily on the fact that it is very much possible to level up, to become smarter, to become richer, to become more successful as a neurodivergent. And it's all about using your neurodivergent traits to make yourself the authentic higher self that you want to be. But today we're going to be talking about 5 signs you're about to level up as a neurodivergent. And the first sign you're about to level up is that people are going to start hating you. You are going to get more enemies, whether these enemies are going to be your close friends, your family, or whoever stranger you run into. People are going to start sniffing out that you got something going on for yourself. And especially if you're someone who has a lot of neurodivergent friends, as a neurodivergent yourself, you are going to be running into people that are going to start seeing it as a bit weird that you're leveling up, or at least they're going to make you feel weird about it. And the reason they're going to make you feel weird about leveling up and glowing up, or whatever it is you're focusing on becoming better at, the reason why people are going to start moving weird around you when you start leveling up is because they themselves understand that if you can level up with everything you've gone through, especially if they know you and they know you've gone through a lot, then that's a sign that they themselves don't have any excuses to not try to level up. And that actually makes a lot of people feel very uncomfortable, because that makes them realize that they can't just be stuck in that little bubble they've created in their head. It doesn't fulfill and help their narrative and alibi that you're actually doing better, especially when you're a neurodivergent, because a lot of neurodivergents grow up their whole lives being told that, well, you can never achieve this and you can never achieve that and you'll definitely never be better than this and this and that. But then when you do start getting to that level and actually surpassing that level, a lot of the people that have been following you along the way, this could be parents, this could be old friends, or whoever just has spent a lot of time around you throughout your life. These people will start feeling weird. They will actually start feeling uncomfortable, because then they realize that whatever they tried to impose on you, all of these beliefs, they're not true. And that actually means that the whole story that they've been trying to fool you into believing is not true. So their alibi has been blown. Their narrative is not true. And it also tells them that they need to wake up and do something about their own lives. And they don't want to do that. Most people are very, very addictive. No, most people are very, very addicted to the comfortability of the uncomfortable lives they live already. Maybe they actually live terrible lives. Maybe they are actually very negative, but they're addicted to this because they don't know anything better, and changing your life is actually more uncomfortable for them in a little while than actually making the change that could make you more comfortable in the long run. So the reason people are going to start moving weird around you when you start leveling up is because they become uncomfortable with the fact that you show them that they could actually do better themselves. And it's a great sign that you're actually on the way to becoming better, because when people start moving weird around you, that's when you know you got motion yourself. The second sign that you're about to have a major glow up or level up as a neurodivergent is when you stop having a victim complex, or you've realized that you have to grow out of your victim complex. A victim complex is a complex that a lot of neurodivergents actually grow up having after childhood, because as children, they probably were victims. They might have had caregivers or friends who took advantage of their neurodivergence and actually didn't accommodate them. They actually made them victims, took advantage of their people pleaser nature, took advantage of their empathy, made them their therapist, made them feel that they needed to take care of everything for them. If you had parents that were narcissistic, for example, maybe these parents actually didn't care about your needs too much. They actually care about their narrative and their needs more. So they made you their therapist. They made you talk to them about all of their issues. They made you, soak up all of the information that you should definitely not have heard as a child. And you're not meant to hear these things as a child. You're not meant to be brought into your family and your parents' problems that are adult problems as a child. And when you're a child, you don't know that this is wrong. So you're going to start thinking that you need to people please everyone and their mom. And that's something you take with you into adulthood. And because you take these people pleaser, empathy, traits with you into adulthood, you're going to be people pleasing everyone around you, and that is going to make people take advantage of you, and that is going to make you a victim. And then when you think that people are just constantly treating you like a victim because of something you didn't know happened to you, then you're going to start thinking that everyone in the world needs to change instead of you. You're going to start thinking, well, there's definitely something wrong with the world, not me. When in reality, it's a mindset you've been trained to have since a child. You didn't know any better, but it's a mindset you definitely need to snap out of. When you reach the point where you realize that you do have a victim mentality because you have gone through things, but that's not something that you need to hang on to. That's something you can't hang on to if you want to become successful. You have to realize that you need to be able to take responsibility for your own life, that people changing is never going to change your life. Actually, people won't change just for you. So you need to take that responsibility onto yourself. And when you start letting go of this victim mentality that everyone else is at fault, everyone else is treating you wrong, and you start saying, well, maybe I need to take responsibility for myself. Maybe I need to stop being a people pleaser. Maybe it's actually my actions that result in the behavior that I'm getting. Then when you start doing that, that's when you know you're on your way to level up crazy, because people will want to take advantage of neurodivergents who have a victim complex, especially narcissists. If you're someone who grew up with narcissistic parents or caretakers or friends, most likely you're going to end up in relationships with narcissistic people later. You're going to end up feeling like, why am I always being the one who's trampled on? Why am I always being the one who's taken advantage of? Why are things always turning out like this for me? The reason it's always turning out like that for you is because you've been trained to believe that that's how you're supposed to act. But when you actually realize that, which you probably might have to realize after having been treated a little worse than you would like, when you start realizing it, that's when you can snap out of it. You can also continue to be having this mentality, to be having this victim mentality that will ultimately just make your life one big circle and cycle of negativity, of being a victim, of blaming everyone for their behavior instead of taking responsibility. You can do that too, but it won't take you anywhere. It won't give you what you need. It won't give you what you want. So you need to snap out of it. When you start snapping out of it, when you start realizing it's my responsibility, it's myself, I need to please, I need to set my boundaries, that's when you start leveling up like crazy. And when you realize, when you can be honest with yourself about the fact that you had a victim complex, I had a victim complex myself. I definitely had a victim complex myself. But when I started snapping out of it, that's when I realized, okay, my potential is limitless, but I can't blame everyone else for it. The next thing that's going to happen when you're starting to glow up and leveling up as a neurodivergent is you're going to start getting better at setting boundaries. Boundaries are key when you want to level up, become better, become smarter, become hotter, get a better life as a neurodivergent. And this can be boundaries in terms of dating, people you're friends with, your family, things that you don't do or you don't participate in, whatever it is. When you're a neurodivergent, especially if you're a neurodivergent girl who grew up people pleasing, a lot of the time you're going to think that you need to go along with everything that people say. And that's not true, because you don't need to do that in order to be good. And it's actually not about being good. Being good is the worst thing you can be. Being good and being nice is something that a lot of people take advantage of from neurodivergence, because they have this empathic side. They have this inner sense of justice that they just want to fuel so bad. They don't want to ever mess anything up. But when you realize that it's not about what everyone else wants, because what everyone else wants is to take advantage, when you realize it's about yourself, you're going to realize your boundaries are actually what protect you. They're what you protect They protect your energy. They protect your soul. They protect all of the powers that you have and you can actually use to make your life better, especially when you're neurodivergent and you use your neurodivergent traits to become better. That's why it is very important that you learn to set boundaries. And in the beginning, it's going to be hard, but you got to sit down and you got to write certain non-negotiables and boundaries for friendships, relationships. And when people cross these boundaries, you're going to feel with yourself, are you going to let people stay around? And if you let people stay around, actually, you're building mistrust with your own self. And that mistrust is going to feel very, very uncomfortable because you're going to start building mistrust with your intuition as well. Because when your body tells you something is wrong, you're going to let it slide. And that's not going to work well for you in the future. It's actually going to create a lot of issues. People are going to take advantage of you more. And that is why setting boundaries is actually one of the biggest factors in being someone who's leveling up and becoming better, smarter, whatever it is you want to become as a neurodivergent, because you realize that these boundaries actually protect you. And standing by your boundaries, being able to say no, being able to stand up for yourself, and being able to be strict about it is something that will actually change your life significantly. I used to be the type of person, I wanted to go along with what people said because I thought I needed to have a lot of friends in order to become a good neurodivergent, because if I didn't have a lot of friends, then I probably wasn't a functioning human being. But you know what? I realized when I stopped hanging out with all of the people that I thought I needed to hang around to be a right person, like a good human being, a proper human being, when I stopped hanging around these people, and I actually started implementing non-negotiable boundaries for myself. And every time someone crossed those, I would be like, you're out. When I started doing that, I actually realized how much more peace I had in my life. And the next thing we're going to be talking about is peace. One thing you're going to realize when you're leveling up as a neurodivergent is you're going to realize how much peace there's in just being by yourself. A lot of the time as neurodivergents, we grow up believing we need to be these really, really social creatures. And there's definitely benefits to being social too. I myself am not the most social person ever, but I do know that being social can actually be very beneficial. But one thing that you're going to realize is that you prioritize your peace over anything else. Being around people just to be around people is not going to cut it for you. When you start leveling up, you actually going to be more you start prioritizing your time better. You start realizing that you can't just waste your time around people that are not going to benefit your life. One thing that I saw on one of my videos the other day is a comment about how do you cut out people that are quote unquote good for you, like that are good, that are just good. And one thing that I always try to say is that people don't necessarily need to be bad in order to be bad for you, because a lot of people in this world are just here to not do anything. They're just here to waste time, and if you mingle too much with them, you're going to end up wasting your time as well. So someone can be a real sweetheart or a decent person, but that does not mean that they're going to be adding to your life. That does not mean they're going to help grow you. That does not mean they're going to challenge you in the ways you need to challenge. Not in the negative ways, of course, but in the way that you need to level up and be challenged mentally, so you understand that you need to work harder, be better, do better. And one thing that I definitely understand with that is that it is better for me to just be by myself and be in my own little peace bubble, go on my hot girl walks for 5 hours on my own, than it is for me to spend time around people that actually don't benefit my life at all. Because you know what happens when I come home after having talked to those people that don't give anything to my life? I am tired, I am exhausted, and I get burned out way easier because I just spent my time and my energy trying to mingle with people that I have no business mingling with. And the fifth thing that you are going to see when you're starting to level up as a neurodivergent is you're going to start seeing yourself become more of a bee. And as much as I don't believe in swearing, I'm not going to say that word, but we're going to write it with little dots so it doesn't look like the swear word, but you know it's the swear word. But you're going to start becoming more of a bee, because society wants neurodivergents to be docile. They want neurodivergents to be domesticated. They want neurodivergents to answer their all of their beck and calls, or whatever it is you say in English. They want you to actually comply with everything they say. And one thing that I definitely noticed when I started becoming better and leveling up and being more mentally stern is that I actually started becoming more comfortable with being a B. I started becoming more comfortable with being assertive. I started becoming more comfortable with just setting my boundaries, doing all of the things that I talked about earlier, but actually just being that. And I'm someone who used to dress very crazy, and I used to invite a lot of crazy questions about my dressing because I used to dress really crazy, and I used to just be someone that, was a big question mark. Of course, people are going to ask me questions about the way I dressed because I was dressing crazy. But at the same time, I was also a menace. I was also a B, and I couldn't understand why people would never accommodate my neurodivergence. People would never think that I needed to be treated better. But I was just a big question mark, and people didn't know how to treat me right. And then as soon as I actually started dressing more toned down, more classy, more feminine, people were like, okay, she's a B, but you know what? It's justified. And I'm not saying you need to go out and change your whole style to look like whatever you want to look like or whatever you don't want to look like. But I'm just trying to say that for me, when I changed my style to be less noticeable, but more classy, more feminine, suddenly me being an absolute B actually became much more comfortable, and I actually became better at standing at my business, because when people started asking me weird questions, they didn't ask me weird questions about my clothes. They didn't ask me weird questions about all of the piercings I had. I used to have a lot of piercings. They asked me questions about things that they had no business asking me. So I felt much more comfortable saying, that's none of your business. That's none of your beeswax. Because the way I look sends a clear signal about the fact that they do not need to ask me those questions. And if they want to ask me those questions, then they're just not suited for being my friends. And I mean, I guess that's another thing. You're going to start becoming more comfortable with warfing off, I don't know if that's a word, cutting out people that ask too many questions. That's a part of being a B too. You need to be comfortable with being like, that's not cutting it. You're asking too many questions. That's uncomfortable. Why do you think that's appropriate? And honestly, that's going to protect you a lot. And it's actually going to give you more peace, because it's going to deliver you from answering all kinds of weird questions and actually developing a trauma bond with people that do not deserve to hear what you have going on. People don't need to hear where you live. People don't need to hear the trauma you experienced when you were younger. People don't need to hear all of the thoughts that you're thinking by yourself in your shower every night. They don't need to hear that. That's why when you become a B, you realize that you're going to start sniffing these people out, because they're going to start hating on you. As I said in the first thing, they're going to start hating on you. They're going to start pointing out that you are definitely someone who proves them wrong, and they don't like that. Anyways, this is a bit of a rant, and I do like having a bit of a rant. That's just my neurodivergence. Anyways, I hope you guys liked today's video, and if you want me to do more videos like this, make sure you leave a comment down below. I know I sound a bit frightening. I'm also having a bit of a throat thing going on this week, so that might also make me sound even more frightening, but it's okay. I'm all here to make you sure that you focus on leveling up, you focus on becoming better, and I'm here to support that. I'm really, really thankful for you guys showing the support to my channel and helping me grow this community, because I do believe in us being able to take matters into our own hands and becoming better and showing the world that they don't control us. They don't control the narrative we have. And that's the end of it. So, love you. Bye.